Welcome to my channel. This video is going to be, can you live on a raw food diet? And the answer is yes, you can live on a raw food diet. Now, the thing is that I am now on a 100% raw food diet where all I'm eating is fruits primarily with some lettuce and sprouts. So that's what I'm eating. Now, the only thing that I'm eating that's not completely natural is tahini, which is pureed sesame seed. So I don't know if you would consider that raw, probably, but I'm just using a little bit as a dressing for my salad. But I've been listening to Dan McDonald. He's the Life Regenerator, and there's like so many thoughts that have been running through my mind every time I hear him speak about raw foods. And you know, the more that you talk about raw foods with people, like if you talk to people about what you know about nutrition, man, they turn right off on you because people don't want to hear the truth. And even if you give them the facts logically, they are not going to respond well to that. For instance, I have a friend, and you know, I have several friends. I have one that is suffering from the symptoms of arthritis and fibromyalgia. Now, these are things that I had suffered from before. And what I noticed is that when I transitioned away from the cooked foods to going 100% raw, those problems just melted away. It's just incredible because what the raw fruits are giving you, when I say raw fruits, mostly raw fruits, because in another video I'm going to outline what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat in terms of like the raw foods, because just because something is raw doesn't mean it's healthy. Example would be kale or broccoli. Not that these are unhealthy, like they're going to hurt you, but they're very difficult to digest. So it taxes your digestive system, and it also causes you to expend needless energy. It doesn't get absorbed, the nutrients that is. Even though there are a lot of nutrients locked in those things, and there's some good antioxidants, it's just very difficult for our bodies to process that. You know, we're not cows. So the easiest foods for our body to process are fruits. Fruits are water rich, they have fiber, low glycemic index, taste great, loaded with antioxidants and vitamins. And you know what's really crazy is that I've been on this raw food diet, and I'm gonna talk all about it in another video, but I just wanted to answer, can you live on a raw fruit diet? The answer is definitely yes. I've been thriving. Today I went out and I exercised. By the way, if you don't believe me, if you don't believe like how good a shape I am, I will just take my shirt off for a second. Okay, and you can see here, I'll stand up. Okay, so you can see right there. It's hard to really see with the light, but you can see I'm very defined. Let me move this microphone out of the way here. There you can see. All right, very low body fat. I flex. So, yeah, I mean, being on this diet is incredible. So today I went out to the gym, and I do deadlifting, I did bench press, I did tons of pull-ups, I did dips, I did ab work, I did bicep, you know, there's the high camera. I did bicep work, I do calf raises, I even did some neck exercises, keep the neck strong. Let me put my shirt on just in case, you know, it's distracting you. But I just wanted to show you what I'm doing. I mean, how I look too. I'll make other videos like that, like I said, you know, the lighting is not so good here and the camera and everything like that. But if you're thinking about the raw food diet, you can definitely do a raw food diet. There's so many different fruits and veggies, and nuts and seeds and grains you could eat. Now, that's if you want to kind of transition away from cooked foods and go to the raw. That would be a good thing for most people. But when you get to the level where I'm at now, and I just kind of recently got to this level, I was doing like something like 90% raw, but I was eating some grains in the way of corn. There's so much I could talk about, but I was basically eating a similar diet to what I'm eating now, but I was eating like grains and like carrots and broccoli. And so after listening to Lauren Lockman, and he's big on fasting and Life Regenerator, I just decided to stop doing those things. Stop eating grains. I think grains are horrible for you. I mean, they're very difficult to digest. A lot of them are GMO, and what they do is they disrupt the intestinal system, and the intestinal system has to put a coating of mucus there to deal with them. And these get impacted, and then over time they crystallize, and these things can go into joints, cause arthritis. So many of the guys I play tennis with, they complain about not being able to see the ball at night. I see the ball like a hawk at night, perfectly. And it's probably because of all the antioxidants and the tons of different fruits that I'm eating. And, I feel like anything less than raw fruits, with maybe the exception of sprouts and maybe some tender leafy greens, are really going to cause residue in the body, and it's going to muck things up. So your cells are not going to be as healthy. They're not going to function as well with cooked foods and meats and dairy and all the excitotoxins and poisons and carcinogens that are in the standard diet that people are eating today. And it's like, it sickens me every time I go to the supermarket and I see somebody checking out behind me or in front of me, and it's like just an array of colorful cardboard and plastic. That's what it looks like. And like cereals, the absolute worst. It's one, I can't say it, they're all the worst, but like cereals is just like cardboard. It's like plastic cardboard that you can put on the shelf, literally go away, come back 1,000 years later, and you'll still have Captain Crunch on the shelf. Not a single bug will ever bite into that. Like, never decompose. It's like from that movie Super Size Me, where they left the McDonald's and it didn't even decompose. So I mean, it's horrible the way people eat, but anyway, when you go on this raw food diet, you're gonna feel a little bit like a super person, like a superman or a superwoman. Like, nothing could touch you. You sleep less, which is good and bad. I definitely enjoyed my 7 or 8 hours of sleep. There's no doubt about that. But I also enjoy the extra time. Right now it's 1:11 in the morning, 1:11. And I feel completely awake, even though, like I said earlier, I went to the gym today and I worked out hard for an hour, and then I played about 2.5 hours of tennis. And I play at a high level. I'm like a 5.0 tennis player, so the guys I play with are 5.0s. And basically what that means is we're not professional level, but we're not just regular recreational players. We're pretty good. It's like a division, like a lower division 1 or something like that. So there's a lot of running involved, and I'm out there, I'm just sprinting. I had been to the gym, I was doing my deadlifts too, and I'm just running, and I've never felt this way before. I had a lot of joint issues in the past, and my joints feel great right now, and I think they're just going to continue to be this way. And I was just thinking to myself, this 100% raw food diet, or raw fruitarian diet, is so freaking good that I don't think I will ever eat cooked food again in my life. I can honestly tell you that, because I feel so good right now. I don't want to ever go back to the way I felt. And for those people that are suffering like with illness, these are the people that can best make the change. Why? Because pain is one of the greatest motivators to make change in this world. And if you're in pain, you will be a lot more motivated to make a change. Now, a lot of people don't, make that change, and a lot of people, it takes them years to make that change. I started this journey back in, actually when I was 16 or 17, I read a book by Tony Robbins. Some of you know him, Anthony Robbins. And he was in the movie Shallow Hal. He played the psychologist or psychiatrist, and he hypnotized Hal. But for those of you who know Tony Robbins, he wrote a book called Unlimited Power, and there was a chapter in that book called The Fuel of Excellence, and it talked all about the damaging effects that meat has on the body. And I read that, and I had grown up in a family that ate meat. I mean, we definitely ate everything. We ate chicken, we ate fish, we ate meat, we ate crap, and that's a whole nother video. But yeah, I come from a long line of bad eating people. My mom and dad didn't do the best job of eating, and they didn't raise me to eat well whatsoever. And the crazy thing was, I was never fat. I was always a very thin kid, and I was a thin adult. And I've had my phases where I've tried the bodybuilding phase, and the bodybuilding phase to me is like gaining like 15 pounds, probably of which half of that was muscle, half of that was fat. And I'm just an ectomorph, so I'm a lean body type, and it just doesn't work for me. So I can't gain really weight even if I wanted to. It's just very superficial. It's like I'll put the weight on and I have to eat like a ton and have protein and not do any cardio and lift weights. And then as soon as I stop that, boom, I deflate. So I've just accepted that I really love who I am, and I love my body, and I love when my veins pop out and I can see all my cuts, especially since I've been on the raw fruit diet. I've dropped my body fat probably from, I don't even know, but I'm going to guess it was about 10%, and it's probably now about 7%. Again, you can see here, wow. You can see I've always been able to suck my stomach in really far. So again, lighting is pretty bad here, but I really cut all over the place. Like my veins always pop out and everything. And so, basically what I was trying to say here is that, we've been conditioned since we're young to eat cooked food. And it's a very, very difficult transition to go into the raw food diet, much less the fruitarian diet. I call myself a fruitarian because it's like 95% fruitarian with a little bit. The only exception is I eat broccoli sprouts because they have supposed to be very, very good. Maybe the best food in the world for anti-inflammatory. And by the way, cherries are too. And we have a supermarket here called Publix, and I've been buying, literally, no joke, 3 pounds of cherries a day and going through them and loving it. Because, it's not every day that cherries come around. You got to maximize the fruit when it's there. It may not be the season here in America, but it's somewhere, maybe the season in South America, and they're coming in, and I'm just eating them, so that's it. I know you should eat local and organic and all that stuff, but that's not always practical when you're a fruitarian, especially if you live in a colder climate. But I'm in a warmer climate. I'm in Florida. Anyway, so if you make the transition, if you want to get off cooked foods, the thing I would tell you about cooked foods is you need to understand how poisonous they are, how toxic they are, how damaging they are to your system. Because I forgot the technical name for this, but when a cooked food is introduced into your system, your body, I think it creates leukocytes or something like that. It creates white blood cells that try to immobilize the. It looks at it almost like a foreign matter, like it's an invader, like it attacks it. The food, the cooked food, and people are putting cooked food into their mouths like every meal, and So they're having these immune responses. That's why these autoimmune diseases are going rampant. And that's probably what happened to me now that I reflect. Every time I listen to more Life Regenerator or Lauren Lockman or some of the other guys out there, it's just like I have this body of knowledge within me, but it's just like adds on, and then I think of 10 other things based on what they say, and my mind's like all over the place when I hear about this stuff. Most of the time I'm very centered and I'm peaceful, but there's just so many things that I want to say. Like when I watch the video, I'm like, oh, I can say this in my video because I wanted to touch on this. And you can see it's kind of like a stream of consciousness. I'm allowing myself to do that now, and that's okay. But I know you're tuning into this to understand, if you can live on the raw food diet, fruit diet, definitely raw food. Like I said, if you want to go to town with nuts and seeds and grains and all that stuff, you can, and it's going to be healthier for you than if you're doing like, fried chicken and baked potatoes and French fries and things like that. Because one of the worst things you could eat, I think, for me, probably the number one thing is fried foods and cooked oils. I didn't realize when I was younger, I used to eat this thing I think they're called crocodiles. They were like a Twinkie with chocolate around them. It's crazy. Or all the cookies, they had hydrogenated oils, palm oil, trans oil, all this stuff. And these oils are like, when they're cooked and they're just the worst. I mean, they really age you. And I think because of the way that I grew up and the way that I ate, I believe I lost my hair. I believe it caused the damage in my body, the joint damage, I had to put two and two together. It was only after years and years and years that I realized what was going on in my body. And I'm still evolving and still growing. And just 2 weeks ago, I just got to this place where I'm now 100% raw. Like I'm just dedicated to being a fruitarian. And, I hear people say, if you're on the fruitarian diet, or a raw diet, that you can't sustain. That people go on it for like a year or two, it causes major damage to their bodies, and they have to resort to cooked foods. And I think this is like an utter joke, because raw food or raw fruit is really the best food, bar none. Fruit, fresh, organic, raw fruit, or just raw fruit that we as humans could possibly eat. And every single creature and animal on the planet eats a species-specific diet. So when you look at deer, they're eating a diet tailored for them. And when you see a rhinoceros, they're eating a diet tailored for their rhinoceros body. And it's the same for every animal, even the carnivores. They're eating a diet that's optimal for them. We are herbivores by the way we're designed. And people argue this with me and say we were designed to eat meat, and we've been eating meat for so many years. And I had 2 arguments with meat eaters this past week. And one of them said, oh yeah, we're designed to eat meat. We've been eating meat for thousands of years. And I said, that doesn't mean anything to me, because we're not designed biologically to eat meat. And just because we do eat meat, or we have eaten meat in the past, doesn't mean that we should do it now. And it doesn't mean that we were meant to do it. And I do believe that man is a tropical creature. Man is a tropical creature who, you can tell by our bare skin, we don't have fur, and, we're not meant to really exist in the cold. We had to rely on technology to create housing and create clothing that could keep us warm. But as we migrated away from the warm climates, we had to leave our natural food of fruit and go more in favor of calorie-dense foods like nuts and tubers and grains and, of course, meat. So, by the way, people that say they want to fish, it's like, do you want to go fishing? It's like, do you want to go hunting and killing innocent beings? Because, listen, man, fishing, people think that's cool and it's trendy and it's like, yeah, I'm going fishing. I mean, what you're doing is you're basically causing you're causing harm to a being. You're causing harm to a poor innocent being. Even if you put a hook in its mouth, how would you like someone to put a hook in your mouth and pull you out of your element, and then throw you back? It's still going to hurt even if you don't kill the fish. Anyway, let's get back to what I was saying. You can see that this video is really like just a stream of consciousness ramble of all kinds of different things. I hope you're getting some stuff out of this. But fruit is really, or raw food is just the natural food that we're supposed to be eating. So people are like, well, how can you exist? That's like asking a cow, how can you exist on grass? It's just grass. And I can't stand when I tell people what I eat and they say, oh, you eat rabbit food. And I've heard that for 20 years. Like I said, when I was like 16, 17, I read Anthony Robbins' book and I decided right there to give up meat. And then I subsequently gave up poultry, and then I gave up fish and chicken and all that stuff, and then eventually dairy. So, people can be very, I guess, I can't think of the word right now, but, it could be discouraging when people are, I guess, denigrating. They have denigrating comments about what you eat. And it's been a very tough road for me because everybody that I know eats cooked food, and there's nobody that I know that's raw. I met one vegan. We went on a few dates. This was like last year, and she said she eats everything. She's like, oh, I'm vegan, but I eat everything. Like, I ate fries and substitute everything. And I was like, well, it's great that you're vegan, but that's not healthy. Like what you're doing, that's like a step. You're like made the right step to become vegan, but now you need. And she's like, no. But it's, imagine like I meet somebody for a date, and I go on a date, and I go to a restaurant. What can I possibly eat in that restaurant? Most restaurants you go to, they don't have like raw fruit for you. And I wish they did. I wish they could be like, yes, would you like the pound? We have 1 pound of cherries, or we have like mangoes, or we have, fruit salad. But most times they don't. And then you end up going there. And in the past, I would go there and order like dry steamed broccoli. And I don't really like eating dry steamed broccoli all that much. But I would do it. Or I'd have like a baked potato. And, they could be putting the potato in the microwave. So, going to restaurants and socializing and all that stuff has been really tough. So I've had to kind of cut down on that, on socializing. I have a small family. I only have my mother, and she doesn't live by me, but she's going to be coming down and to stay with me for a bit. And I will go out to eat with her, but I said to her, Mom, I'm not going to probably eat anything, but I'll watch you eat. And my mom is a great woman. I love her very much. But, when people get older, it becomes much more difficult to change their diet unless they're going through something severe. Even my dad, who passed away a few years ago from cancer. Actually, it was chemo he passed away from. But, I couldn't get him to change at all. And I work with people too in a physical sense. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a trainer, and I don't know what it is. Like we're food people. This whole world we're addicted. We're absolutely addicted to cooked food. And here's another big thing that I learned recently. Sodium. Sodium is like I call it the great killer of our age, because I don't think people realize how damaging sodium is and how much sodium is in food. The thing is, once you go on the raw diet and you go on a fruitarian diet and you cut out all the like hot peppers and spices and salts and sugars and excitotoxins and flavors and all that crap, you start to really taste the fruit. You can taste the difference between, a Haitian mango and, another different type of mango, or like a honey mango, or different types of grapes, or different types of cherries. And like you could just, your senses become more acute, your eyesight gets better, your hearing gets better, your taste definitely changes. It's almost like when you give up cigarettes. Not that I ever smoked, but I heard that when people smoke, their sense of smell and taste are really dull, and then once they give it up, it becomes much more acute. And I think it's the same way when you transition off cooked foods. What I like also about the raw food diet is, I always say raw fruit. I'll say just now the fruitarian diet. What I like about the fruitarian diet is that digestion is like very smooth. You never have a problem. Bowel movements are no problem. Not that I ever did have a problem, but everything seems to be working really, really well on it, like optimally so far. And I don't expect that to change. I only expect it to get better. And I do want to add fasts to it. Man, this is becoming a long video. So I'm thriving on it. Like I said, I played, 2.5 hours of tennis today. I went to the gym, and I usually do go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I have tons of energy in the gym. The one drawback of this diet is you do have to eat a lot. It can cost a lot of money. And you have to eat a lot. So, unless you want to do nuts. If you want to do nuts and seeds, you can kind of get like very dense calories. Like, all you need is like maybe 20 almonds to equal eating like 50 cherries or 100 cherries. But I've chosen not to eat nuts and seeds except for the tahini, which I put on my salad as a dressing. And the thing is that, I don't want to eat the nuts and seeds because they're not water rich, and I don't believe they're going to support me in being the best I could be, and I don't need them. I do work for myself at home, and I do have the time to actually eat the raw fruits and vegetables. So anyway, this video is getting long enough. I'm going to make another video talking more all about the stuff. If you have any questions about the raw fruit or raw food diet, drop a comment below, let me know, and I'll be glad to answer them. All right, this is Chad. I'm out of here.